Dave was a good neighbor, coached Little League, brought you tomatoes every summer, borrowed your lawnmower twice, and actually returned it. On day 7, you watched him through the peephole, begging for water for his children, and you said no. On day 12, Dave tried to break into your house with 3 other men. You recognized his voice in the darkness. On day 15, you found what was left of Dave 2 streets over. You didn't look closely. You didn't need to. Here's what nobody tells you about societal collapse. The apocalypse doesn't kill most people. People kill most people, and the neighbor who borrowed your lawnmower becomes unrecognizable in about 72 hours without food. This is not a story about the end of the world. This is a story about the 30 days after, the window where everything you thought you knew about human nature gets tested, where 90% of the unprepared become statistics, and where the prepared face choices that no YouTube video can prepare you for. What you're about to hear is a simulation, a minute-by-minute breakdown of societal collapse based on documented patterns from Katrina, the LA riots, Venezuela, Bosnia, Argentina, and every other localized collapse that gave us a preview of the main event. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what happens when the lights go out and stay out. You'll understand why your 6-month food supply means nothing if you fail at one critical discipline most preppers never practice. You'll learn why the first week kills more people than the next 3 combined. And you'll know, really know, whether you're actually ready or just think you are. 30 days. That's how long it takes for the old world to die and the new one to be born. Let's begin. The sound of silence. Your coffee maker beeps. You reach for the pot. Same motion you've made 11,000 mornings. And the world ends. Not with an explosion. Not with a warning. Just silence. The lights die. The refrigerator stops its constant hum. The air conditioning shudders once and goes still. And in that instant vacuum, you hear something you haven't experienced since childhood. Absolute nothing. No distant highway. No airplane overhead. No neighbor's TV bleeding through walls. The white noise of civilization, the soundtrack you stopped noticing decades ago, flatlines. Your phone is in your hand before you realize you've grabbed it. A black rectangle of glass that suddenly weighs 1,000 pounds. Outside, chaos is already blooming. Cars have coasted to stops in the intersection. Engines silent. Hazard lights dark. A woman stands beside her SUV, door open, staring at the dashboard like it betrayed her. Your neighbor Gary, the one who thinks preparedness means keeping jumper cables in his trunk, is on his lawn, holding his phone toward the sky like he's trying to catch a signal from God. Here's what Gary doesn't understand, what most people won't understand until it's far too late. He has about 6 hours before the panic starts. 12 hours before the grocery stores become war zones. 72 hours before the thin veneer of civilization peels away completely. What he does in the next 30 minutes will determine whether he's breathing in 30 days. Gary will spend those minutes waiting, refreshing a dead phone, expecting someone to fix this, believing that help is coming, because help has always come before. You don't wait. You move. The water bob is out of the hall closet and stretched across the bathtub in 45 seconds. You've practiced this, timed it. Your wife appears in the doorway, still processing, confusion written across her face. Fill it. Now. While there's still pressure. Municipal water systems have backup generators, maybe 8 hours of fuel if you're lucky. After that, the pumps stop. The pressure dies. And every faucet in America becomes a museum exhibit. The tub fills. 60 gallons. The plastic bladder swells, and you're already moving to the next task. Your wife has stopped asking questions. She's seen you prepare for years. The freeze-dried food in the basement, the water filters, the emergency binder updated every 6 months. She called it paranoid. She called it obsessive. She's not calling it anything now. She's taping blackout curtains over windows. By the time the water bob holds 100 gallons of municipal tap water, your house is dark, windows covered, inventory mentally checked. The hand crank radio, no batteries, no electronics to fry, crackles with a single repeating message. Remain in your homes. Authorities are assessing the situation. Do not attempt to travel. Remain calm. the two most useless words in the English language. Through a gap in the curtains, you watch Gary loading his family into a wheelbarrow. He's announcing to anyone who'll listen that his brother has a cabin in the mountains. 40 miles, through what's about to become the Thunderdome. Gary, who once called AAA because he got a flat tire in his own driveway. That Gary. You don't wave goodbye. You're not cruel. You're practical. Waving means being seen. Being seen means being remembered. Being remembered means becoming a target when Gary's family doesn't make it, and whoever finds them asks where they came from. This is your first lesson in the new world. Invisibility isn't optional. On days 1 to 3, the invisible fracture. The second morning, the water pressure drops. By noon, it's gone completely. You're ready. The bathtub holds 100 gallons. The Sawyer filter can process 100,000 more. The Life Straw is backup. Purification tablets are backup to the backup. But readiness doesn't stop the gut punch of turning the faucet and watching nothing emerge. The real crisis isn't water. It's the speed of unraveling. Day 1. Confusion. People check breaker boxes, expecting a temporary outage. Neighbors gather in clusters, sharing theories, waiting for the familiar hum of restored normalcy. Day 2. Denial. The power company is working on it. The government is mobilizing. Someone, somewhere, is fixing this. They have to be. Day 3. The mask slips. You don't go to the grocery store. You're not stupid. But you watch from the upstairs window, binoculars steady, as people stagger back from that direction. Some carry bags, most carry nothing but bloody noses and torn shirts and a new understanding of their neighbors. One man drags a shopping cart with a broken wheel. Inside, a case of energy drinks and a bag of tortilla chips. That's what he risked his life for. That's what he'll probably die defending. The just-in-time delivery system. You've explained it to anyone who would listen, not that anyone did. Modern grocery stores don't have inventory. They have a 3-day rolling supply maintained by an endless convoy of trucks running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Stop the trucks for 48 hours, and the shelves become empty monuments to efficiency that was always one bad day away from catastrophe. By day 3, the smell begins. No garbage collection, no functioning sewers, no invisible army of sanitation workers keeping the gears turning. Your neighborhood begins to smell like what it is. A densely packed collection of mammals producing waste with nowhere for it to go. The summer heat doesn't help. 92 degrees. The sun bakes garbage that no one is collecting. Cars that are becoming insect hotels. Things in the street you try not to look at too closely. You've prepared for this. The bucket system in the garage, 5-gallon pails, heavy-duty trash bags, sawdust from the hardware store. You do your business. Cover it with sawdust. Seal the bag. Store it in a designated corner for eventual burial. It's not pleasant. It's not dignified. But dignity is a luxury that costs more than you can afford now. Most of your neighbors haven't prepared. Most are learning in real time what sanitation collapse looks like, smells like, what it does to the human psyche when you realize that the invisible systems you never thought about were the only thing standing between you and a medieval existence. On day 3, Mrs. Patterson knocks, 72, widow, diabetic, feeds the stray cats. She's holding an empty insulin bottle, hands trembling. The pharmacy is closed, she says. Her voice is small, confused. Have any? I need my medicine. Do you? You don't. And even if you did, a bottle of insulin requires refrigeration. Refrigeration requires electricity. Electricity requires a functioning grid. Without her medication, Mrs. Patterson has maybe a week, maybe less. You tell her to try the church on Maple Street. You tell her someone might be organizing medical supplies. You tell her not to give up hope. You lie. Because the truth is too heavy to hand to a 72-year-old woman, standing in your doorway in her bathrobe, asking you to save her life. She thanks you. She shuffles away. Her slippers make a soft sound on your walkway. You never see her again. Day 7. The weight of no. The knock comes at sunset. Golden light bleeding through gaps in the curtains. The neighborhood quiet, except for distant sounds. You've learned not to investigate. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more. You're in the kitchen, rationing the day's water allotment. 3 cups per person, measured precisely, no exceptions, when you hear it. Your wife freezes, mid-pour. Your son's hand drifts toward the baseball bat he's kept within reach since day 4. Your daughter presses herself against the wall, away from windows. You move to the peephole. Dave. Tomatoes, from his garden Dave. Little League coach Dave. Borrowed your lawnmower and actually returned it, Dave. He looks like a refugee from a war zone. Clothes stained with things you don't want to identify. Beard grown in patchy and gray. Eyes hollow, sunken. Carrying a weight that wasn't there a week ago. I know you're in there. His voice is hoarse, cracked from dehydration. Please. I just need to talk. I saw the curtain move. You don't respond. You wait. It's my kids. The words come out broken. They haven't eaten in 2 days. Real food. My wife? He chokes. She went to that distribution point at the church. She never came back. 3 days now. I don't know where she is. I don't know what happened to her. I just need something. Anything. A can of beans. A bottle of water. Please. Your hand rests on the deadbolt. You could turn it. You could open the door. A can of beans, a bottle of water, a handful of crackers. It would cost almost nothing from your supply. But you know what happens next. You've studied the patterns. Read the after-action reports. Watched the interviews with survivors of every localized collapse that gave a preview of the main event. The story is always the same. Help one person and word spreads. Help one person and you become known as someone with resources. Help one person and 1 knock becomes 10, becomes 50, becomes a mob that doesn't knock at all. This is OPSEC. Operational security. The art of appearing to have nothing while having everything. The discipline that separates survivors from statistics. Dave, you say through the door. I can't help you. Silence. Then, what do you mean you can't? I've seen the packages, man. I know you've been preparing Amazon boxes every month for years. We're neighbors. We've known each other for, what, 8 years? 9? I'm sorry. Sorry? His voice rises, cracks, because her stomach hurts. And you're sorry? My daughter is 6 years old. She's crying herself to sleep. Behind you, your wife has moved to stand at your shoulder, not to stop you, to steady you. Her hand finds yours in the darkness. She knows what this moment is. Not the grid going down, not the water stopping. This, right now. The moment you look someone you know in the eye and choose your family over theirs. The church on Maple, you say. They were running a distribution point. Try there. The church burned down 4 days ago. Flat, dead. Looters. Someone knocked over a candle. There's nothing there. There's nothing anywhere. You're the only person I know who might have... He stops. You hear him breathing on the other side of the door. You're going to let my children die. Not a question, a statement. Water. And you're going to let my children die. You have food. You have the words hit like physical blows. Because he's right. In some absolute moral sense, he's right. You have supplies. His children are starving. The math is simple. But the math isn't simple. It never was. The food in your pantry isn't extra. It's calculated. 3 months for 4 people. Share it with Dave, and it's 2 months. Share it with the neighborhood, and it's 2 weeks. Share it with everyone, and you all starve together. Just slower. This is the calculus of collapse. The equation that makes monsters of good people and martyrs of generous fools. I'm sorry, Dave. I can't help you. You need to leave. Silence stretches. Then his fist hits the door. Once. Hard. I remember where you live. His voice has changed. Something cold in it now. I'm going to remember this. When things go back to normal, and they will, everyone is going to know what you did, what you are. Footsteps fade. A shadow passes the window. Gone. 3 days later, at 2 a.m., you hear glass breaking 2 houses down. Voices in the darkness. Dave's voice among them. You start sleeping in shifts. One hand on the shotgun. Day 14, the art of invisibility. 2 weeks in, and your house is a corpse. Not abandoned, already looted. That's the crucial distinction. An abandoned house invites exploration. A looted house invites nothing but passing glances and moved-on feet. Garbage is scattered artfully across your front lawn. Not your garbage. You've been burning that in small batches, deep in the night. But garbage you collected from abandoned properties, staged to suggest scavengers have already picked through your remains. Windows aren't just dark. They're boarded with plywood salvaged from the Hendersons' shed. The grass is dead, brown, knee-high. From the street, you're a husk, a place already stripped. Nothing left worth taking. This is the gray man protocol. Not standing out. Not drawing attention. Blending into devastation so completely that eyes slide past without registering. But the exterior is just the visible layer. The real discipline is what happens inside. You don't cook during daylight. The smell of food is a beacon, a dinner bell that travels on the wind, telling every hungry nose within a quarter mile that someone nearby has something worth taking. Instead, you cook at 4 a.m., when the breeze dies and smoke dissipates into darkness before dawn. You don't show light, not a candle, not a flashlight, not the brief glow of checking a watch. Light discipline is non-negotiable. One careless moment, one flashlight at the wrong window, and you've announced your presence to everyone watching. You don't make noise. Your family has learned to walk in socks, speak in whispers, communicate in hand signals developed through necessity. Every dropped pan, every raised voice, every child's cry is a vector for discovery. The Golden Horde has arrived. That's what the forums called them. The masses fleeing dying cities, streaming outward like blood from a wound. You always thought the term was dramatic. Keyboard warrior fantasy. You don't think so anymore. They came in waves. First the walkers, singles and pairs, shell-shocked, just trying to get somewhere else. Then the groups, families, clusters, people who found safety in numbers. Now, the organized ones. Armed men with hard eyes, moving systematically, treating every neighborhood like a supply cache waiting to be cracked. The street shimmers with waves rising from asphalt. Through the observation slit, a gap in the upstairs blackout curtains just wide enough for binoculars, you can out 5 of them, armed. Visible, probably more concealed. They're working up the block with professional efficiency. This isn't desperate scavenging. This is organized resource extraction. They hit the Hendersons' place first. Empty since day 3. Already stripped. They don't waste time. The Pattersons next. You hear the crash of a door being kicked in. Shouting. A sound that might be a scream, might be something else. Mrs. Patterson. You don't know what happened. You don't want to know. And now they're in front of your house. You stop breathing. Your son is rigid beside you, 14 years old and aging by the minute. Your wife is downstairs with your daughter in the safe room, the bathroom, windowless, reinforced, stocked with 3 days of supplies. The leader's shaved head, tactical vest, rifle slung across his chest, stands on your sidewalk. His eyes scan the property, the scattered garbage, the boarded windows, the dead lawn. One of his men walks onto your porch, tests the plywood over the front window, peers through a gap. 10 seconds. You don't move. Don't blink. Anything? The leader calls. The man on the porch shakes his head. Stripped. Someone already hit this one. All right. Next. They move on. Up the block. Around the corner. Gone. You count to 60 before exhaling. That night, you expand early warning systems. Tripwires with cans. Broken glass, scattered where footsteps would crunch. Mirrors angled to see around corners. Your daughter asks how long you have to live like this. As long as it takes, you say. She nods. Doesn't cry. Doesn't argue. That's what scares you most. Your 11-year-old has stopped expecting normal. Day 23, the breach, 3:17 a.m. You know the exact time because you check your wind-up watch the instant before everything changes. You're awake. You're always awake at this hour now, body refusing deep sleep, maintaining constant low-level alert. The new normal. The sound is unmistakable. Glass shattering. Close. Not from the street. Inside your perimeter. You're moving before conscious thought catches up. Tactical flashlight in hand. 1,000 lumens. Heavy enough to be a weapon itself. Family to safe room. Now, your wife is already awake, already moving toward your daughter's room. Your son appears in the hallway, baseball bat ready. You position yourself at the top of the stairs, in the shadow where hallway meets landing. Below, footsteps, whispered voices. At least 2, maybe 3. They came through the kitchen window, the one weak point you identified but couldn't reinforce in time. Your heart hammers, hands steady. Training overriding terror. The stairs are your choke point, your advantage. You know every creak in these boards, every shadow, every angle. They're blind. You're not. A figure emerges from the kitchen darkness. You don't hesitate. 1,000 lumens erupt from the tactical light. Enough to trigger the gag reflex, enough to temporarily blind anyone caught in the beam. The figure stumbles backward, hands flying to face, cursing. Then you rack the shotgun. There is no sound in any language quite like it. That metallic chunk needs no translation. It says everything. I am armed. I am awake. I will kill you if you take another step. Wrong house. Your voice is steady. Where does that come from? Leave now, and you live. Silence. The figure frozen, still shielding eyes. Behind him, scrambling. The others, deciding. We're going. A young voice, scared. We're going, don't shoot, we're going. They go. Back through the kitchen window. You hear them hit the tripwire. Cans clattering. Footsteps fading into darkness. 5 minutes before you move. 5 minutes making sure they're really gone. Not circling back. Not waiting. Then your legs give out. You sit on the top stair, shotgun across your knees, flashlight trembling. Your family emerges from the safe room. Wife, son, daughter. They're gone. Day 30. The new normal. You stand in front of the bathroom mirror, no running water, but glass still reflects, and study the face looking back. You barely recognize him. Beard grown in full gray streaks you never noticed before. 15 pounds gone? Maybe 20. Hollowing cheeks, sharpening jaw, exhaustion carved into lines around eyes that have learned to scan for threats before registering anything else. But it's the eyes themselves that have changed most. A month ago, those eyes belonged to someone who worried about quarterly reports and mortgage rates. Someone who complained about traffic. Someone who assumed tomorrow would look like today. That person is dead. Buried somewhere between day 7, when you said no to Dave through a locked door, and day 23, when you learned what it feels like to hold a weapon and mean it. The eyes in the mirror belong to a survivor. Someone who has chosen. Someone who has crossed lines that can't be uncrossed. You don't know if that person is better or worse. Only necessary. The math of the past month is brutal and simple. Without medication, the elderly and chronically ill went first. Mrs. Patterson and thousands like her. Casualties of a healthcare system that required electricity to function. Without sanitation, disease followed. Cholera, dysentery, spreading through populations that never imagined drinking water could kill them. Without law, violence filled the vacuum. The weak taken by the strong, the unprepared consumed by the desperate, the helpers overwhelmed by the helped. 30% in the first week. You walk through your neighborhood now, armed, careful, never alone, and count the silent houses, the shattered windows, the doors hanging open. The street where you once waved to a dozen families now holds maybe 3 survivors. Dave isn't among them. But you're still here. Your family is still here. That evening, you sit on the back porch with your daughter. The sun sets in colors you've never seen. No smog, no light pollution, just pure atmosphere and dying light. What happens now? She asks. Winter is 3 months away. The first freeze will kill more people than the collapse itself. The unprepared, the hopeful, the ones still waiting for rescue that will never come. After winter, spring, growing season. The beginning of the long, slow work of producing food at scale, building communities, establishing something that can last. We adapt, you say. We survive.